1. When designing a QuickBooks training curriculum for adult learners, which principles should take highest priority? Ensuring all sessions follow a strict chronological order of software features. B. Connecting training content directly to learners' real-world business scenarios. C. Maximizing the amount of information delivered in each session. D. Requiring participants to memorize all keyboard shortcuts before hands-on practice. 2. A client expresses frustration during a QuickBooks training session, stating, "I'll never understand this." What is the most effective mentoring response? A. QuickBooks is actually very simple once you practice more. B. Let's break this down into smaller steps. Which specific part feels overwhelming right now? C. Most people struggle with this initially, so don't worry about it. D. I'll just set this up for you so you don't have to learn it. 3. Which evaluation method provides the most comprehensive assessment of a trainee's ability to apply QuickBooks skills in their actual business environment? A. Multiple choice knowledge test immediately after training. B. Observation of the learner performing month-end close procedures in their own company file. C. Review of the learner's attendance records and participation scores. D. Self-assessment questionnaire about confidence levels. 4. When developing a QuickBooks curriculum for learners with varying experience levels, what instructional strategy is most appropriate? A. Teaching to the lowest common denominator to ensure no one is left behind. B. Creating separate, parallel learning tracks based on pre-assessed skill levels. C. Focusing exclusively on advanced features since basics can be self-taught. D. Requiring all learners to complete identical modules regardless of prior knowledge. 5. A ProAdvisor must ensure compliance with which regulatory requirement when handling client QuickBooks data during training sessions? A. Obtaining written consent before accessing any client's financial information. B. Training can proceed without special permissions since it's educational. C. Only verbal permission is needed if the training is free of charge. D. Client data can be used freely if identifying information is visible. 6. Which communication technique is most effective when explaining complex QuickBooks reconciliation discrepancies to a non-accounting client? A. Using detailed journal entry terminology to ensure technical accuracy. B. Providing analogies comparing bank reconciliation to balancing a personal checkbook. C. Referring the client to QuickBooks documentation to read independently. D. Explaining that the issue is too complex for them to understand. 7. When evaluating the effectiveness of a QuickBooks training program, which metric provides the most meaningful data about learning transfer? A. Number of hours participants spent in training sessions. B. Participant satisfaction scores collected immediately after training. C. Reduction in accounting errors measured 30 to 60 days post-training. D. Percentage of curriculum topics covered during the training period. 8. What is the most appropriate way to address diverse learning styles in a QuickBooks group training environment? A. Asking participants to adapt to the instructor's preferred teaching method. B. Incorporating visual demonstrations, hands-on practice, and verbal explanations. C. Focusing exclusively on video tutorials since they appeal to most learners. D. Providing only written manuals for participants to study independently. 9. A mentee consistently makes the same QuickBooks data entry errors despite repeated instruction. What is the best coaching approach? A. Have the mentee demonstrate their process while thinking aloud to identify the root cause. B. Complete the tasks for them until they feel more confident. C. Suggest they aren't suited for bookkeeping work. D. Repeat the same instructions more loudly and slowly. 10. When developing assessment criteria for QuickBooks proficiency, which approach best reflects adult learning principles? A. Surprise quizzes to ensure learners are paying attention. B. Competency-based assessments aligned with specific job tasks they'll perform. C. Standardized tests covering every feature in QuickBooks, regardless of relevance. D. Assessments focus primarily on memorizing menu locations. 11. Which element is essential to include in a QuickBooks training needs assessment? The trainer's preferred teaching schedule and methodology. B. Current pain points and specific workflows in the learner's business. C. A comprehensive list of every QuickBooks feature ever released. D. The learner's personal opinion about accounting software in general. 12. What is the most effective frequency for providing feedback during QuickBooks skills development? A. Only at the end of the complete training program. Continuously throughout practice sessions with immediate specific corrections. C. Once monthly in a formal written evaluation. D. Only when major errors occur that affect financial statements. 13. When a client questions why they need to learn QuickBooks when they can hire a bookkeeper, how should a ProAdvisor respond to encourage engagement? A. You're right. You should probably just hire someone instead. B. Understanding QuickBooks helps you monitor your business health, make informed decisions, and communicate effectively with your financial team. C. It's required by the IRS that business owners know their accounting software. D. Learning QuickBooks is easier than finding a reliable bookkeeper. 14. Which curriculum development principle is most important when creating QuickBooks training for a specific industry, e.g., construction, retail? A. Using generic examples that apply broadly to all businesses. B. Customizing scenarios, terminology, and workflows specific to that industry's operations. C. Teaching only the basic features since advanced features are industry neutral. D. Avoiding industry-specific content to keep the curriculum flexible. 15. What is the primary purpose of using the tell, show, do, review method in QuickBooks training? A. To maximize the length of each training session. B. To accommodate different learning styles and reinforce retention through multiple exposures. C. To demonstrate the instructor's comprehensive knowledge. D. To fill time when learners complete tasks quickly. 16. When documenting training outcomes for compliance purposes, what information is most critical to record? A. Personal opinions about each participant's potential. B. Specific competencies achieved, dates, and assessment results. C. Detailed notes about participants' personal business challenges. D. Only the final test score without supporting documentation. 17. A client learns QuickBooks functions but struggles to decide when to apply them. This indicates a need for training focused on A. Repetition of the same procedural steps. B. Decision-making frameworks and understanding the why behind processes. C. Faster software navigation skills. D. Memorization of additional features. 18. Which approach best supports knowledge retention in QuickBooks training conducted over multiple sessions? A. Covering completely different topics each session to maintain interest. B. Beginning each session with review of previous concepts and their application. C. Avoiding repetition to maximize new content delivery. D. Saving all review for the final session only. 19. When mentoring a new QuickBooks user who appears overwhelmed, what is the most effective initial strategy? A. Assigning complex tasks to build confidence quickly. B. Identifying one critical workflow to master before introducing additional complexity. C. Providing comprehensive documentation for all features simultaneously. D. Suggesting they postpone learning until they're less busy. 20. What is the most appropriate way to evaluate whether learners have achieved critical thinking skills in QuickBooks, not just procedural knowledge? A. Ask them to recite the steps for creating an invoice from memory. B. Present a scenario with incomplete information and ask them to determine what data they need and why. C. Time how quickly they can navigate through menu options. D. Have them watch an expert perform tasks and identify what was done. 21. Which communication strategy is most effective when training a client who is resistant to changing from their old accounting methods to QuickBooks? A. Emphasize everything that's wrong with their current system. B. Acknowledge their current system's strengths while demonstrating specific advantages of QuickBooks for their goals. C. Insist they must change immediately to remain compliant. D. Suggest that resistance indicates they're not ready for modern technology. 22. When creating a QuickBooks curriculum for remote virtual delivery, what adaptation is most crucial for maintaining learning effectiveness? A. Converting all content to pre-recorded videos without live interaction. B. Incorporating frequent interactive elements, breakout practice, and screen sharing opportunities. C. Extending session length to compensate for reduced attention spans. D. Eliminating hands-on practice since it's difficult to monitor remotely. 23. A regulatory requirement for ProAdvisors handling client data during training includes A. Maintaining confidentiality and securing any files or information accessed during training sessions. B. Sharing interesting client scenarios with other trainees as learning examples. C. Storing client files on personal devices for convenient access. D. Discussing client financial details to provide realistic context. 24. Which question type is most effective for assessing deep understanding of QuickBooks concepts rather than surface memorization? A. Which menu contains the reconciliation feature? B. What is the keyboard shortcut for creating an invoice? C. A client's balance sheet shows negative equity. What are 3 possible causes and how would you investigate each? True or false, QuickBooks can track inventory. 25. When a mentee demonstrates competence in basic QuickBooks tasks but lacks confidence, what mentoring technique is most appropriate? A. Continuing to closely supervise every task they perform. B. Be gradually reducing guidance while providing affirming feedback on independent successes. C. Pointing out that their lack of confidence is holding them back. D. Assigning them to train other beginners to force confidence.